This is the Puck Junk Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. I'm Sal Barry, and with me is Tim Parrish and Clemente Lisi. And today we're going to finally talk about 2023-24 Extended Series Hockey. Don't call it Series 3, it's Upper Deck Extended Series. We're also going to talk about a few other news items and tidbits that happened recently, and we're also going to talk about the upcoming Fanatics Fest in New York City. So, gents, how are you doing? Clemente, I'll start with you this time.
Good. I'm just getting over the national hangover and preparing for Fanatics Fest, so no rest for the weary.
From one card show to another card show. Now you're thinking about going to the expo in November?
I am, yes, and I'm seriously considering that. I know you and I are talks about
Right, yeah.
being there. So yeah, but I am, and that excites me, of course, a lot more than this thing that's coming up. Only because I really don't know what to expect. I know I mentioned that in the last podcast. And for anyone who hasn't listened to the last one, we did our national recap, which was very good. And yeah, no, this is going to be a whole different kind of show. And I mean, every day there's an announcement about what's going to happen there. The latest is that Mike Tyson's going to have his way in there, So in a lot of ways, Fanatics Fest wants to be Comic-Con. It wants to create news. It wants to be a place where things are happening. It's not just a card show. So we'll see what the audience thinks about all that. So
yeah, we'll talk about that a little more later on. But my follow-up question is, so then are you going to also go to the Chicago Sports Spectacular? Because then you would have gone to the Spring Sports Card Spectacular, the National, Fanatics Fest, the Fall Expo, another Sport Card Spectacular. I'm sure you went to a White Plains show as well or something.
Yeah,
or Chantilly. I mean, you're like
I went to Chantilly. That's I went to London. So I don't know if that's like in baseball when you hit for the cycle. I'm not sure what you need to hit the cycle. I'm definitely not going to the Spectacular in November because it's like a week after the Expo, right? Is that what it is?
2 weeks actually.
2 weeks. Okay.
Which is merciful for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like I would get home Sunday and it'd be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Got to start setting up for the show. And then it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if I do set up on Thursday or Friday. But still, so it's nice to actually have like a full week and then like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because it gives me just time to get my stuff together.
No, I'm thinking Expo, and then maybe there's a bit of a gap between that and whatever happens in 2025.
Yeah, you need a maintenance day, as they say in
I think so. But the frequent flyer miles on Delta have been good to me. So
yeah, well, that's good. And Tim, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm probably like a 6.5 out of 10, maybe. A little off center, got at least one ding corner, but otherwise, I'm good enough, I guess.
Little surface wear.
I'm good for vintage.
Yeah, good for vintage. I like that. Yeah. So I've had like the busiest, like the past 4 days, like including today. So past 3 days and today have been like pretty busy. Like Friday, I went and I saw Metallica. I never go to concerts. I have a friend who talked me into going with him to see Metallica and Pantera and some other band that opened even before them, which didn't matter. We didn't even bother to watch them. And then let me see. That was Friday. Saturday saw my girlfriend. Sunday went to a family thing. My brother's wife gave birth not too long ago to a little baby girl, so I got to meet my niece. It was some sort of a religious thing, but it was basically like dinner at a restaurant, at like a Pakistani restaurant. So I had a family thing on Sunday, and then Monday morning, early afternoon, I caught a matinee of Deadpool and Wolverine, because my friend's like, "Oh, do you want to see it Monday night?" I'm like, "I can't see it Monday night. I got my podcast to record." And he's like, "All right, well, how about a matinee?" I'm like, "That's fine with me." Yeah. So I've done more in like I've done more in like 4 days than I usually do in like a month. So
you have a busy social calendar.
Yeah, I know. It's a weird change of pace. It's like people like me and want to do stuff with me, and I'm not quite used to it. It's
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sure we all go through this. it's fine now, but like when hockey season starts, I don't be bothered on like on a Thursday night or anything, like on a Wednesday night. It's like, well, I'd rather watch whatever's on TV and it's cold out. I want to go outside. So,
That's true, but my
yeah.
attitude is there's so much hockey, if I miss a game, it doesn't matter.
No,
If I
that's
miss a
true.
Blackhawks
That's,
game, there's another 81 games,
no, and that's the beauty of that. But it's also like it's cold and you have lots of excuses to make. It's hard to do that in August.
This is true. This is true. But yeah, I wasn't making any excuses there. I'm just saying, yeah, it was like, just a fun-filled, busy 4 days. So
I'm disappointed you didn't see the opener, by the way.
what are they called? Were they
Mammoth WVH.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's Wolfgang Van Halen's band. He's the lead singer and guitar player.
Well, they weren't on very long, and I was like in the concession aisle, and I said to some guy, I'm like, "Hey, who's the opening act?" He's like, "I forgot already," and go, "Oh, that good, huh?" And that was that. So,
No, they're awesome.
well, if
They're
you say so.
Fantastic band. If you like heavy rock and you like that style, you would like them.
No, but you see, we had to find a Metallica shirt in a 3XL for my friend who's 6'9". So it was like he's like, "Well, we could do this later." I'm like, "No, dude, let's just get this done now." You know what I mean? Because I don't care about the opener, but by the time Pantera comes on, yeah, I'm probably gonna want to watch them. And then when Metallica goes on, it's like, yeah, all bets are off. Not leaving my seat for 2 hours. Yeah, we did find him a shirt in 3XL, so did have a happy ending. So let's talk sports cards. Another theft at the National, $275,000 of cash plus some iPads, I believe, stolen from some guy's car. He said he thought the car was locked, and it wasn't. I feel like that's more of a crime of opportunity. I mean, it still is terrible, but dude, if I have anything more than a 20 in my wallet, I'm like on extra high alert. Like, oh yeah, still got my wallet there. Okay. So, if I'm locking, almost 300 grand in my car, I'm like going to double check, triple check that I locked the car before I go back.
Well, no, I'll just say that the security inside, we talked about this last time, was
Mhm.
so good that I think people have resorted to like ripping people off outside in the parking lot. And there was plenty of time to do it because none of those cars were moving for hours to get out of there. So that's one thing. The really odd thing about this story, without knowing details, and the time frame by which we found out about this story is there's a bit of a gap between when we found out and the national ending. And I don't know if that's because the people that were ripped off didn't want this to be out there. It took time for the police to report, whatever it is. But we all left the national thinking like, oh yeah, no one got ripped off and there was no crime and it was great. And then here we are. And, I agree with you. I think this is more of a crime of opportunity and maybe somebody broke into the car because they broke into the car, and maybe they were, and this happens everywhere in America every day, right? So I don't know that this is technically a national related. Yeah, sure, it's in the parking lot, so it's related, but it's a little bit different, I think, than when it happens on the showroom floor or in the building or at a dealer table. That's a lot more scary and dangerous. And I agree with you. Like if I have my wallet, like I would never. I don't think I'd leave that kind of money in the car. Maybe the iPads or other stuff, sure, but you always have to worry about stuff like that. People breaking into your car. I mean, it happens all the time. So I don't know, but I almost feel like someone had to have known this too, because unless you're just breaking into random cars hoping to get lucky, this is like amazing fortune to break into this car and go, whoa, I had the mother load. So
Right.
sometimes you really have to be careful. I tell people all the time, in the hobby, we all like to talk about what we have, but sometimes don't advertise. Maybe somebody was like, "Oh yeah, like I made a ton of money at the show." Because it was on Sunday. It was the last day of the show, so maybe it was like, "I made a ton of money." It's like you don't know who's overhearing. We've all been at shows where people are talking and people are just within earshot, obviously, and so you just don't know who's hearing this stuff, and so you really have to be careful. I agree that this is the kind of thing. Look, it's cash, like the cops are not going to find this cash. Like it's gone. Like, and
Especially
so,
considering he had one of
yeah,
those eye tags in it or whatever, and it was
right.
ditched.
Yeah. So
In the briefcase, and they
n-
found the briefcase, but without the money.
right,
Of
right.
course.
So Yeah. So all that is it makes this crime very, very difficult to solve, I think.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's not as cut and dry, I don't think, as the one in Dallas was, where you got the guy on camera and it's a close up and tons of people saw him, but yet no one's coming forward. So that one's super bizarre. This one, you clearly see the two people and they jump into their little minivan that they got. What was it, like a Honda Odyssey or something that they had the
Yes.
APB out on?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
well, not like another unassuming soccer mom vehicle. Of course
Right.
not.
a couple things come to mind here. Having done 2 nationals on the road and 2 nationals in Chicago, so 2 are home games, and I come home at the end of the night and I can leave money at home. But when I'm on the road, what do? You can try to go to your bank if there's a branch of your bank. And that's the thing. I'm small potatoes. But let's say that I was making 10,000 a day, 20,000 a day, or I had like a really big sale. I would want to go to the bank and deposit that, like, especially like if you're like one of these dealers who has like a company account and all these things, or if you have employees where you could say, okay, Clemente, before you come to the national, please make this bank deposit. You know what I mean? But a lot of times it's one or two people. I mean, you see a lot of booths with one person. Nationally, you might see two or three people because they'll buddy up, because it's a bigger show and it's a busier show. But a lot of times you have one dealer working one table, and then it's like, well, the bank doesn't open till 9, but I got to be at the national by 9 to start getting ready. And then the bank closes at 5. Well, guess what? The national ends at 6. And then if you're out of town, where do you even go? Like when I was in Atlantic City, I was trying to find a branch of my bank and there wasn't one. And then they were like, well, you can deposit money in the ATM at it wasn't a Speedway. It wasn't a 7-Eleven. I don't know what it was.
Probably a Wawa.
It's the Wawa, probably.
It's a
Could have been a
Wawa thing.
Wawa, but it
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you can make ATM deposits there. And I'm like, well, that sounds terrible. Like I'm just gonna walk into a convenience store and deposit money into an ATM. And
At 3 in the
I
morning.
no, well, on my way to the national, I would do it during
Right.
the daytime.
In Atlantic City? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Well, no, we weren't in Atlantic City proper. We stayed
Right.
further out from that to avoid the riffraff and to save on costs. But so that's the thing. It's like it gets hard, and that's why you see a lot of these dealers rent a safe. Like these big dealers, they rent a safe. AU Sports, they set up with Memory Lane. They have a safe. They always have a safe at their shows because they're taking in lots of money or they're paying out lots of money or whatever, right? So it's a problem. The other thought I was going to say is, how far away are we from a strong arm robbery? I mean, look at it this way. You say, oh, I know Ken Golden has money. I hate to pick on him, but I know him because I've seen him on his King of Collectibles show, right? A lot of these people, a lot of these, like, especially like these auction houses and a lot of these companies, they're really pushing their people. Like you pick up one of those auction catalogs and they always have pictures and here's Tim Parrish and he's the vice president of marketing and sales, and you're like smiling and holding that baseball bat up. Almost like the realtors, when they have their picture and they're on the sign and they're smiling, like that. Like
They advertise the people.
who's Reed by guy? Who's Reed? I always
Oh
see
yeah,
in the mag.
David Adams, right?
David Adams, right?
Yeah.
But didn't he used to work for Baseball Card King?
Baseball Card Exchange.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exchange.
that's it. Sorry. Baseball Card King is a chain of stores in the Chicagoland area. Baseball Card Exchange is in Indiana, and they do their special shrink wrap around sealed products.
There you
Okay,
go.
so anyways, I've seen him enough that if I saw him walking down the street, I would think, oh, that guy might have money on him. Maybe not, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just look like one of the other riffraff in there. But if I see somebody like a Ken Golden or like a Reed or like Gary V, how much do you think he has in his wallet?
Probably nothing.
And we know that these guys have money because they buy stuff that's expensive. They sell stuff that's
They
expensive.
talk about it. That's all they talk about.
And they talk, yeah, right. So what's to stop 6 people from ganging up on them? Now, I will say that the security is pretty good. There's always a police presence. When you leave at the end of the day, when you come in the morning and you leave at the end of the day, it's always light out because it's in the middle of summer. So it's always light out. So it's never like anybody's going to their car by themselves in a parking garage at 10 o'clock at night. But again, I'm just saying,
No,
it's like,
to piggyback off of that,
yes.
this is a big score. And if the police had said, "Look, these people broke into 7 cars and stole just out of this car," it's almost like they knew to target the car.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure the police is gonna look into that and ask the people whose stuff was stolen, who did you just tell? Who knows about this? Could this be an employee? Could this be a friend of yours? Could this be, were you talking about this on the showroom floor? Like, people don't realize they talk about a lot of stuff. Like, or they post on social media, or like they're constantly talking about how much money they have or what cards they have. And you can, like, I agree with you, you could become a target. And there's people out there who are figuring out that there's a lot of money in sports memorabilia, because you hear about these big auction sales every day and whatever it is. And so people who just looking in from the outside might say, you know what, this is an opportunity for us. Like, this is a really big show happening in this building. And maybe someone's dumb enough to have stuff in the car in the parking lot, or maybe it was visible through the back seat. Like, you just don't know. And so there's a lot of unanswered questions here. That's all.
Right. And then let's take it a step further. Okay, let's take it a step further, but also a step down. Let's say somebody like a social media hobby influencer. And I know I already mentioned Gary Vee, but he's still kind of upper echelon. I'm talking about somebody who goes around and they have like their YouTube channels or their Twitch streams or their TikTok channel, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm selling this card for $5,000." Okay, so then I watch that and I go, that guy has $5,000 on him. That guy just paid him cash for that one Patrick Mahomes card, right? It's like they're advertising that they're making money and that they have money,
And it's cash. And it's cash.
but they're also publicizing their image. You know what I mean? Like, look at me. I'm this cool guy making money, right? I wear a Charizard around my neck that's graded PSA 10. And that's why I brought up the question about a strong arm robbery.
I hope it doesn't come to that, but
If
yeah.
you recall, last year, for a long while, it seemed like every couple weeks, card shops were getting hit and
Yes,
knocked over.
that's
And
right.
they were posting those all over social media, and it seemed like it was one after the next, all over the country.
Yep.
Now, I don't know that anybody was like at gunpoint, because most of them looked like they were all snatch and grabs after hours, where they broke in and.
Or they busted in with a truck or something. You're right. It was all, the store was closed. Yeah,
But
exactly.
if you go back and look at a lot of those that were at least posted on social media, the people that went in, they knew what they were taking. They weren't just randomly grabbing stuff. So it was like they have these places cased ahead of time, so
Yeah,
they know what
yeah,
they're taking. And I
yeah.
think that's the rub on the whole Dallas one. Yeah, it could be legit, but it seemed so well planned out that it was just like, what is going on here?
They're
And
watching
notice
you.
we really haven't heard anything else about it.
Mm-mm.
Like,
No.
I haven't heard an update. I haven't heard anybody's been caught. I haven't heard any of that. Nor have I heard anything on this one. But like you said, Clemente, we didn't even know about this until like a week ago.
Yeah,
So
like a week later, almost. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was easily a week after it happened,
International. Yeah, it was weird.
before it was even announced. So
We're on like 2
Publicized.
weeks now, yeah.
Yeah, almost 2 weeks. It's very strange that gap. When I saw it, you know, when I did, I was like, wow, this is a long time after the fact that we're hearing about this. And there's video and all that and stills. I get it, but it was weird. I thought we had kind of escaped the national without any problems. And look, in the building, we didn't have any problems. And the people could say, look, the organizers could say, look, our responsibility is in the building. Parking lot is massive, as you know, in Cleveland. It's like we can't worry about every car parked in the parking lot. It's not realistic.
I'm kind of disappointed because it's like the last probably 3 shows that I can remember in Chicago. The very first day, they've carted somebody out in handcuffs.
Right.
It's happened pretty much every show
But
consistently.
it used to be like in the old days, quote unquote, was like someone was trying to sell counterfeit cards, or there was something like that. Like
Autograph scandals, fake
It was
autographs,
always
government
the
autographs.
autographs. Yeah, it was
skate,
the
yeah,
autographs.
fake
And they wouldn't get them
autographs.
for selling it. They get them
Yeah.
for selling it online, because that
Right.
becomes mail fraud.
Right. So
So
that's what they were doing. They were kind of, doing fake stuff. And now it's more like, wait, forget about the fake stuff. There's good, real stuff here that we can take or target people. And look, as long as people posting stuff on social media, and like Sal said, and they're bragging and flexing on, Instagram and YouTube, I don't see how this gets better. And you could have all the guards in the world, all the police in the world. You can't be everywhere all the time. And I just say no. And to piggyback off what you were saying, Sal, people were telling me, look, use the hotel safe. Like hotel rooms usually have a safe, and put it in there, lock it up if you really are scared to walk around with it or to leave it behind in your hotel room, even in a drawer. Because there was a story just, I think, last week about a maid in a high-end Las Vegas hotel was stealing from customers. Like, because people leave, we all go, go to hotels, leave our stuff around, like your laptop, your watch, whatever. You go to the pool, you go out for the day, you come back, and your room's all clean, but stuff can go missing, right? Like,
I was gonna say, was that the watch lady?
yeah, I
Because I
think
read
so.
an
Well,
article about a watch lady.
yeah, it
She
was watches
stole
and like
tons of watches.
high-end watches, and if you steal a watch, someone could be like, "Did I leave it here? Did I lose it?" I mean, you can report it, and then of course, the hotel got smart and put there were cameras everywhere, and they saw her on a floor she shouldn't have been, and they caught her. So had the stuff been in the safe in the room, it might have been safe, or on, like you said, Sal, on you, on the person, like. If I have more than like $100 in my wallet, I'm like, that wallet is staying with me. Like, I'm not going to leave it lying around in my hotel room or in my car, because anybody could just smash the glass and steal whatever, or pop the trunk and whatever. So hopefully people just get smarter. I think people have been very lax at these events. And so hopefully people can be smarter about it.
Yeah, and look, I'm in no way saying, "Oh, I want violent stuff to happen to anybody." I know I mentioned a few people by name, and I have nothing against any of them. I just brought up their names because they're high profile people in the industry. And when you're high profile and when your face is plastered in a lot of places, people get to know you and then they recognize you and then they might think, huh, that person has money, right? And building off of that, what I'm trying to say though is that, like, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the only crimes you had at card shows, you had a petty theft, somebody lifts a card or a box of cards when someone's not looking, or it was a fake Mattingly rookie, like, well, that's going back to like the 90s, or like fake Michael Jordan autographs, right? So it was either some sort of fraud or it was some sort of petty, like small item theft, like a relatively low dollar value. Now we're getting into like inside crimes where we had people steal that looked like they worked at the show, but they didn't. And now we have like cars being, being broken into. I know it was unlocked, but broken into and stolen from, right? So it's like things are escalating now, right? And then so it just seems like that's the next logical step now, is if it's going to continue. I mean, it's easier to bust a window and steal something than to rob somebody. I meant like a strong arm robbery. Although I don't know this from experience. I just know this from watching cop shows on TV where they just bust a window and they grab the thing and they.
Now that I'm thinking back to like all the shows I've been to, like Chantilly or even the Expo, they have big parking lots, and cars are just parked there. And sometimes you see dealers going in and out of their trunk with like a 5,000 count box or something, and putting it back in the trunk and walking away. And there's never anybody in these parking lots. Like, there's never any security or anything. Like, anybody can just be like, "Hey, I just saw that guy put something in his back, in the trunk. Let me go. I'll pop it and walk out." I'm glad in this case they have cameras and they have video stills of these people. But otherwise, like, I think if you're looking for this, and unfortunately, this crime gives people ideas because they hear about it and go, "Oh, people who are not aware are now aware of this." And Tim is right about the stores. That was a rash that went on for like 2 years. Now we're in this phase of, oh, people are getting ripped off at shows. They're getting robbed at shows or in and around shows. Like I said, I hope it's something that is, sort of passes. I think people have to get smarter. I said this already. People have to be really just aware of their surroundings. Look, I live in New York, so I'm never quite like lax wherever I am. I'm like, well, I'm always a little bit more paranoid. Like, double lock the hotel room,
Yeah.
put a chair behind it, whatever, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm more paranoid because I live in a city where if you leave things lying around, they're going to disappear very quickly. I don't live in a very small town where people leave their doors open. That's great, but it's not my reality. And so when I travel, I bring that with me, and I've never been a victim of a crime. So I've been lucky, but it is something that's dangerous.
Well, and something I brought up and we talked about a little bit in the last show, is the fact that you've got 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids walking around these show floors with cases with more money worth of cards than my entire collection. And it's like, Sal brings up, when's the armed robbery start? I mean, how hard would it be to just take one of these off of a little kid?
You don't even need to be armed. You can just rip it out of their hands and
Yeah, and they're
right.
walking around the show floor. I mean, not a lot of the kids are supervised. I mean, dad, mom, whoever they came with is probably off somewhere else, and they're maybe safety in numbers, but I've seen plenty of times kids walking around by themselves where it's like, dude, you've got like $20,000 worth of cards in this case right here, and where's your parents? Like, what is happening? So it's definitely raises an eyebrow, and it's a reason for concern, I would say.
So, shall we move on to the fake UPC scandal?
From one theft to another.
From one theft to another. All right, Tim, what's the skinny on this?
Well, Clemente brought up, these people have a target on them. So speaking of target, this was in California though. So they were busting people. I guess there was like this whole sting operation that went down in California with people going into Target and switching out barcodes on product and buying, boxes of cards and paying way less for them. I guess it started with one guy and kind of expanded from there. But the article I saw online posted a picture that the police actually posted of the confiscated merchandise that they found at one of the people's houses, and it was hundreds of Hot Wheels cars mixed with trading cards. So there were tons of like blaster boxes of everything. So essentially what this boils down to, not that I'm giving directions for people on how to do it, but give me half if you're able to pull it off. So basically they take UPC codes and they're off of another product. So for instance, I'll take this Mountain Dew bottle right here and take the UPC code off of there and stick it on another product. And essentially, UPC codes are generally the same format. You just get it for whatever product it is, know that it's a product that store carries, so it's activated in their system. And then when you go through the self-checkout or whatever and it rings up, you're out the door with whatever that fake code is. Or if you go through a regular checkout, you just hope that it gets scanned like the normal cashier would scan it and not think another thing of it and put it in the bag and off you go. So you end up with, $25, $30, $40 blaster boxes and mega boxes and all of that kind of stuff for pennies on the dollar based off of what you spent. So did they pay for it? Sort of, but that is theft because they're walking out with merchandise that they didn't pay for because technically they paid for maybe a thing of lipstick rather than an actual. Although I've seen the price of makeup lately. It's pretty expensive. Maybe they go with something cheaper.
So you worked in retail, Tim. So at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, whatever, they have to account for everything, right? And so at some point, they're like, "Wait a minute, something just went missing."
Yeah, so there's a LP department in most bigger major chain, big box and stuff like that, and
Right.
even smaller stores have them, especially chain stores that have corporate offices. But
Right.
the company that I worked for, we had internal LP, we had external LP. You have all of that goes on. Plus, what happened with us, because we brought this up, or I brought it up before we started the show. We had people taking ink cartridges, so that should give you an idea of one of three places I may have worked. So people were taking ink cartridges and swapping out the barcodes on the back. Now ink cartridges,
Those are expensive, but they're
oh,
expensive.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, so this was years ago, but I mean, heck, cartridges still cost 40, 50, 60 bucks, sometimes 70 or 80.
Yep.
And the toner cartridges, they were doing them with the toner cartridges too. So they would put stickers over the UPCs and then they looked exactly the same size. So unless you really looked at it, you couldn't see that it was a sticker. And then they would ring these things up and out they would go. Well, they would ring up as other ink cartridges or other toner cartridges, but they were ones that were clearanced in the system. So when they would ring up at the clearance price, which may have been 90% off at the
Right.
time.
Right.
But then what would happen is you'd run the reports at the end of the day, and now all of a sudden you have negative shrink on items
Right.
because you never had any to begin with. So selling one when it had been 0, now you have -1. So all of a sudden it was -1, -3, -10, -20. So all these stores were seeing this and we're like, we're getting hit. And so, word got around and we started checking for stuff, and they eventually caught the string of people that were doing it. But it was like 6 or 7 people. They had this whole ring that were going around from store to store and doing all the same stuff. But that's exactly what they were doing. Just replacing barcodes with stickers and hoping nobody would notice. And they got away with it for a little while. So this isn't anything new. I mean, this is something that's been going on for a long time, but anytime news comes out and it has to do with trading cards, it always perks the ears up.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's collectibles. It's the trading cards, the Matchbox, all that puts it in the news, because if people are doing this with ink toner, it's not so sexy. It's just,
Right.
it's office supplies. Like,
Right.
great, you're getting a great deal, but it's not going to make the local news or even the sports card, news universe. So I get it. Like, that's why we're all talking about it on this show. But it is interesting, and you mentioned the self checkout. I feel like a lot of people use a self checkout to scam the system too, because no one's really
Absolutely.
watching and whatever. And I know, and then people will say to me all the time, "Well, these stores have insurance. What are you worried about?" I'm like, I'm not worried about it, but it's theft. It's wrong.
Well, you should be worried about it because enough of it happens.
Right.
Then they start doing other things. They'll lock down the product, which makes it a giant pain in the butt.
Well, right. Yes.
For you to get the stuff.
They put
it's
it
a hassle.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to go there anymore. But
Yep.
maybe they're the only place that has your stuff. So then you still go there and you're annoyed. And then, oh, look, they raised the price too because they have to now. And it's like, so there's a domino effect. It may not hit you right away, but there is.
You're right. Anybody who shaves knows that razor blades are behind those things for years, and now toothpaste is behind that, and a bunch of other things and I know that in my local Walgreens, I love the store, but like I'll go there and you push the button and they make an announcement, someone go to aisle 4, and of course they have 2 people working in the whole store, so like no one comes, and you're like, I just came in to buy mouthwash and get out, and now all of a sudden it's in mouthwash jail. I can't get what I want. And
the
then
mouthwash I could see, they put toothpaste locked up now too.
In New York, there's toothpaste.
What could you do with toothpaste? Can you make meth out of it?
Feminine products, razor blades, like detergent, like anything with some value.
Really?
Makeup, you mentioned makeup.
But everything has value of some sort.
Well, yeah, but not, I don't know, like chewing gum is cheap, right? So that's not behind glass. But everything else is, and it becomes, just running a simple errand becomes a problem. But I think it's because there's been so much theft in the last couple of years on all these products. I mean, even sports cards at some of the local drugstores around me are now behind glass. It's funny. It's not even so much the sports cards. It's like the Pokemon, the One Piece, like all these gaming cards that the kids really like. That stuff is all behind glass, because forget about UPC code or the price change. You put that in your pocket and you walk out. Like that's like super small. It's like the size of your wallet. Like no one's watching. And if it beeps, I mean, I've been in stores where it beeps and the guy just runs out, and the employees are not going to chase the person.
You're not allowed to.
Never. You don't want to get sued or hurt or whatever. So it becomes like, whatever, we'll write it off. It's not, it's not a problem. We'll just get more locks and we'll put more things in jail, and then we'll just annoy the people that do pay, which is us.
I got a couple of funny stories. When you talked about employees not chasing after the person. So I used to work at Kohl's department store. Do you have Kohl's in
Yes.
New York? Okay.
I like Kohl's.
Yeah. Well, it was my last retail job, and it was probably one of my least favorite retail jobs, because I had fun jobs like a comic book store, a t-shirt store, a sporting goods store, and then there was Kohl's.
It's not as fun as the other stores, of course.
Not only that, but that reminded me that I needed to, I was like counting the days until I went back to school that fall and to continue my degree, because I'm like, man, I don't want to be 40 and working at Kohl's, because I saw people who are in their 40s working at Kohl's, and they were just very bitter people who were just unhappy. And that was my motivation. Like, yeah, I don't want a life in retail. I'm just here for the summer. Hate me all you want. I won't see you suckers in 8 weeks.
It's not the Kohl's. It's working with the general public. I'm convinced of that.
What's that?
It's their bitterness. It has nothing to do with Kohl's. It has to do with working with the general public and dealing with people.
No, it has to do with like people who like they're not gonna they're not going to go any higher in their career because they don't have like the management experience or training. So they're basically on the same level as like a 20-year-old or 22-year-old who's just working a summer job. But anyway, when there was a theft, they had like different codes that they would call out, like 10-9 or 3-3 or whatever. Like, if they needed, they wouldn't say, we need extra cashiers. They would just say code 7 or whatever, right? And then I would know that meant that they needed an extra cashier or whatever, right? But when they said 10-10, that meant someone is stealing. They'd say 10-10 and then the name of the department, right? 10-10 to women's clothing, right? Or whatever. And 10-10 meant that there was a theft, that the person had exited the store, and what they wanted everybody to do was to run after them.
They want you to do that.
Run after them, but not actually touch them. Because the
okay.
philosophy was usually if they see a bunch of people chasing them, they usually give up. Like if everybody just pours out of the store and starts chasing them, right?
I would run faster. I mean, I'm not going to.
Right, I know, but
What's the sense in this? This is crazy.
It's so weird.
I don't. This is 1997. This is ridiculous. And I knew something was up because the LP, loss prevention, for those who don't know, the LP person saw me and she said something to me very loudly. Excuse me, can you get me one of these in a size medium? And I said, oh, sure. And then she just said very quietly, said, go away. And then like 30 seconds later or a minute later or whatever, I hear 10-10 to men's and everybody starts running to the doors. And I guess one of the guys in like shipping and receiving ended up grabbing the guy or putting his hand on him or whatever, and he gave up. But yeah, like a bunch of us just ran out of the store. By the time I got to the doors, like it was already over. It's like, all right, the fourth down play is dead. But,
I like how you probably like a soft jog to the door. That it's like, okay, I see it's all died down now. But
It's insane
when you said
that they would do that. That's crazy.
When you said it was a deterrent, I thought you meant that by chasing them, they would think twice about doing it a second time, but
No.
not. This theft was done though. I mean, this is not gonna.
It's not a theft until they exit the store. And they told us this when they were training us. They said, if they do something, if they stash a pair of socks inside of a shoe, and you see that, pull it out and just say, oh, did you want these socks also? Don't like accuse them of trying to steal the socks or whatever. But so the idea is if you are shoplifting and you exit the store and then you like start walking and then you see like 10 people come out after you, you're like, oh, shoot. So the end of the story though is that like the loss prevention person who was an off-duty cop, she's like, okay, I need you to go into the room with the guy who stole the stuff. You and the other guy, the guy who grabbed him, who was whatever, like from shipping and receiving. And she's like, and I need somebody from men's clothing because he's wearing a bunch of men's clothes that he's stealing. So the merchandise, right? So, and then I'm like, oh, okay. So you just want me to watch this guy take off his clothes until he takes off all the stolen clothes. And then she's like, well, he might have a weapon. So if he does, just yell, I'll be outside. And I'm just like, that sucks. That's terrible.
You know what? I would have quit Kohl's too because this is ridiculous.
I was on my way out.
This is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
You know what this sounds like? This
Yeah.
sounds like there was a sitcom a couple of years ago called Superstore. That's what
Yeah.
this sounds like. It sounds like an episode from that, like where there's like all kinds of just like wackiness and hijinks and just weirdness. And I don't see how like this. This is why people are doing the UPC code thing because to avoid all this nonsense, stealing doesn't pay.
The store I worked for that stole ink cartridges and stuff, we had a rule. If you caught people stealing, you do what you can to like put pressure on them. Hey, do you need help with something? Can I answer questions? Like keep on them.
Mm.
But if they walk out of the store or something, under no circumstances are you supposed to chase them. And even
Yeah.
before that, like going way back, I worked for an even bigger company that rhymes with ball cart, and it was exactly in their policy. You do not confront people stealing at all.
Because if you get hurt or
Correct.
fall or whatever, you can sue.
Or
Ballpark,
if
and
you
can
do
say,
something
"Hey,
to the person stealing, they can sue you
yes,
and the store.
Right.
The store probably because they have more money and you're an agent
Well,
of the store.
Sure,
absolutely.
but the store doesn't want the liability. It's like, no, you tackled the guy to the ground. It's
Yep.
like now you're a hero. It's like, no, he broke his
Yeah.
knee and now he's gonna sue
So the
the
fact that
store.
there's a company saying to
Even though he's a
chase
thief.
people
Yeah.
and create a diversion or whatever and stuff, Watch this guy strip naked and tell me if he's got a weapon. I'll just be outside the door. Jesus,
Well,
that's
because she was a
crazy.
lady cop, so she couldn't be in the room with me.
Yeah,
Or with him, rather.
No, but I like it. They're like, if he has a weapon, just scream, just
yeah.
scream.
He has a weapon.
You know, just shout.
Caw, caw, caw. Like what?
Right, yeah. And then they let the guy out in handcuffs because he was,
Jeez.
And then he got out the next day because it's on a capital crime.
Hopefully he was wearing pants.
Was he wearing pants?
Yeah, no. He just like I don't know. She told me, she's like, yeah, he stole X amount of garments. And it's like, all right, a shirt, a pair of shorts, But the guy, of course, he was acting all tough, like, "Oh, you want to see me naked? Hey, you gay?" Right? I'm like, and I'm playing like tough guy. I'm like, "Hey, man, I don't care. We could sit here all day. This beats me stocking the shelves. Now, are you gonna cooperate or you gonna be a little twerp?" I'm like, and then you throw it back at me. I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm not the one who got busted for stealing. I'm not the one who's getting arrested. After he took off the stolen items, I gave the security person, the loss prevention person, whatever you want to call her."
Did your manager say, "Hey, Sal's not getting anywhere. Get Sally from Housewares in here"?
Yeah, laid a beat down, right? No, then she came in and she made him sign a form, and he's like, "What's this form?" And she's like, "It's a form agreeing that you will never apply to work for Kohl's."
Oh my god.
She took his photo.
If he's so lucky.
She took his photo, and in the Norwich suburb of Chicago, the Norwich cops came, put him in handcuffs, and let him out.
Will you swear never to work here? I swear.
No, he had to sign a form affirming that he would never work for this, that never apply to work at
When
this.
I was a kid, I had friends who like got caught like switching like the prices, like you guys mentioned earlier before the call, or like they would scare the heck out of you. They would say, "We're going to call the police," and they never really did. But they would say, "Sign this form, and you can never come in the store again."
Mhm.
And then of course there's also stores in New York City where like sometimes there's known shoplifters where they basically put their pictures near the entrance of the door and say like they catch you on camera saying like, "Don't let these people in, they've stolen from our store before." And which is like, you make the wall of shame basically at the store, and there are all these blurry photos of people whatever walking through the aisles. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think I can see why this theft occurred, or because a ring of people were doing it, because in the end of the day, you get away with it for a while, but then people get greedy. And once you stole your 1000th Matchbox car, you're going to get caught. At some point, the buck stops somewhere, right? So
I got two more quick stories. I didn't want to make the Cole story as long as it was, so
it was too good. It was too good.
All right, well, thank you. I'm
It
glad.
was too crazy.
Yeah, what was funny was at the time I was actually applying to be a Chicago police officer. Like I had taken the police test, and actually
Okay.
that summer I was training for the physical test. I already passed everything else, and so I just needed to take the physical. And then even the LP lady was like, "I'll write you a letter of recommendation. I'm a dispatcher for the blah 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 police force." And then I'm just thinking like, do I really want to be a cop? Nah, I want to continue going to art school, So that was that. But I had a friend, like he was like that friend in high school that you'd hang out with after school and listen to like records and stuff and talk about music. And he knew I was into sports cards, and he's like, "Oh, I remember he's like, I got busted for stealing." He's like, but it was kind of stealing. What he did was he's like, there were Topps baseball cards and Donruss baseball cards. And I liked the Donruss baseball cards better because they had better photos, they had better color, they had the nicer backs. So he opened both of them. He took the Donruss cards and he put them in the Topps wrapper because Donruss was 55 cents at the time and Topps was 50 cents. So this had to be like around 89 or so when we still had 50-cent Topps packs. And so they caught him, whatever store it was. I don't know how he resealed it. He might have used the price tag or whatever. I mean, it was a wrapper. You just refold it. It was a wax pack, right? But yeah, because he paid 50 cents and not 55 cents for the pack, which, I don't know. It's kind of silly, but I mean, a nickel, hey, that's 10%. And back in the day, that's like 15 cents. So, but then the other story was when I was working at the sporting goods store. And my boss told me, she's like, "I need you to bring up more socks from the storage room in the basement." And we had like a couple of receiving guys who'd unload the trucks and, unbox the things. And then I'd bring them up and put them on the shelves, right? So she's like, "I need you to go get some socks. They're going to be on the bottom shelf, probably all the way in back. You'll probably have to move other boxes to get to them, right?" So, okay, moving this box of shirts, box of undershirt, workout shirts, whatever, right? I finally get to the box of socks. I open it up, I pull it out. It's a big box, like a big TV sized box. I start pulling out like these different like types of sports socks, right? And this was like old stock. You could tell that they've had these for a while. But then in the box were boxes of Michael Jordan cologne. Do you guys remember the Michael Jordan cologne, even if you didn't wear it?
Vaguely.
This would have been
Vaguely.
late
I was gonna say,
96. So this was out in time for
Yeah, it
Christmas.
was mid to late 90s. I remember that.
Yeah, it was 96 because I was working at MC Sports.
So this was like leftover, forgotten product kind of?
No. What happened was, and so it was out of place because we had just gotten that. Like we had a big
Oh.
display of Michael Jordan cologne, like in the center of the store.
Oh, I see.
And it's like you're going through like some old store stock. She's like, "Yeah, just bring up any old socks. We just need to put up more socks with our shoes, right?" And so I grabbed my manager and I took her downstairs with me, and I didn't even know what was going on. I just said, "Look," I said, "I don't know why these boxes of Michael Jordan cologne are with the socks, but I wanted you to know this is exactly how I found it, right?" Because even then I was pretty naive. I'm still kind of naive, but like back then. But what was happening was one of the receiving guys, he basically took like 10 boxes of the cologne, he
Hid it.
stashed it
Right.
with some clothing that nobody would look in that box, right? You know what I mean? He was stashing it with socks, right? Not like, the Bulls jerseys, we were putting those out all the time, or the Cubs t-shirts, right? Like not the stuff that people wanted, right? Like stuff that like was kind of forgotten about. So it turns out he was stashing product and then he was stealing it, right? So maybe they would think it was stolen by customers, or maybe they wouldn't have inventoried it yet. I don't know, but yeah, dude got fired. So yay. I led to the termination of one of my coworkers at a sporting goods store because I was a good tattletale.
If he's listening out there, be careful, Sal.
He's not listening. He's not listening to this. Yeah, I don't even think he knew me because he never.
This is like whenever, like when I was younger, I'd go to a store and I really wanted something, and I'm like, okay, I don't have the money with me right now, so you take it and you hide it behind like the shelf in the store, like
But then
on
you
the
buy it later.
then you come back and you're like, oh, they didn't find it. It's back here. That's not really stealing. But I'm saying this is what that reminded me of. But that's like a whole elaborate, like, I'm going to, at night, it's like a Scooby Doo episode. It's like at night, then I'll sneak it out of the back with the socks and no one will notice. And I'll sell it on the
Right.
black market and I'll have my own side hustle of Jordan cologne. And it's like a whole thing. And, I mean, I knew people who were stealing from stores when I was in college and later because they were putting stuff on eBay at the time. Which I think is still being done, I'm sure, which is why half the stuff at the supermarkets in prison, because people are selling it like in their Amazon shops or wherever on the other market or in the street even. And so yeah, look, I'm not surprised that that's the story here with the UPC codes. Like this must happen all the time. Again, it's getting attention because it's the hobby, but I do think that this probably happens fairly often. And this is why whenever you go to stores, you either find cards behind lock and key or they don't even have them. I mean, the biggest problem before stealing was people would feel the packs and, do all kinds of stuff to manipulate them. I've been to stores where like you can tell all the fat packs have been kind of rummaged through or like, whatever, bent and whatever. And, and it's like you just ruined it for everybody else. And you would think in a world where cameras are everywhere that people wouldn't even be able to get away with this. They'd be stopped. But as we've spoken before on this podcast, those areas where the sports cards are, the stores don't really care about that. That's not really their purview. That's from an outside vendor, and and they're not going to chase anybody. They're not going to, they don't want confrontation, all that good stuff. So here we are, but it makes it worse for everybody else who are looking to get sports cards in retail. It's harder and harder. That's all.
Rule of thumb: Lucy's are always fondled. Remember that. If you go to a retail store,
I think
Lucy's are always fondled. That's all you got to remember.
Loose packs.
That's why you got to get a blaster. The fat packs are like the worst thing in the hobby because they're hanging.
They're
on
not
the
the
shelf
best things
somewhere
anyway, as far as what you get at them most of the time.
They're pretty.
Well,
terrible.
that's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Anytime you get loose packs, they've all been handled 10 times over.
Every time
Like,
I've seen like an open hobby box, this is prior to the configuration change, but the like Upper Deck Series 1, and I'd look and I'd be like, "Oh, this box has 33 packs." Like someone bought 3 packs, and I'd see another open display box, and I'd count the packs, and there'd be 33 packs in that one too, and I'd be, that can't just be a coincidence. Like somebody are if there were 36 packs in the box because they just opened it up, I might like say, oh, all right, I'll just buy the whole box. I know it's retail and it doesn't have the same hit ratio as hobby. Yeah, it was just stupid. But hey, I feel like we talked about Fanatics Fest a lot in the last episode, and you're going to talk about it a lot in the next episode.
probably.
So
Yeah.
I'll ask you this. I was reading your article, your Fanatics Fest preview article.
Yes.
For a guy not looking forward to the show, you sure are talking and writing about it a lot.
Yeah, what's up with
A lot
that?
of criticism. Just
That piece was written a while ago, as you probably know, in terms of deadlines. And then since then, they've had like another 50 people who are going to show up to this thing. But
okay, that's good because I was going to
Yeah.
ask you. I'm like the graphic that you included
Yeah.
that showed the lineup.
Yeah.
I'm like, how come Henrik Lundqvist isn't pictured? He's better looking than all those people in the photo, even the WNBA player.
Yeah.
Why is he not in there? Because he's like the best looking
No.
human to play hockey, and he's not in the advert. Yeah, they got the Manning brothers,
So
and they're just
that lineup was the original lineup of like a month and a half ago. And as I've mentioned, literally every 3 days, there's like a raft of people that are named, and more people are coming, and it's even bigger than I thought when I wrote about it in terms of the size, in terms of the signers, and the number of people that are going to be there, and what they're going to be all doing is kind of still a mystery. The people signing are signing, great, but then people are going to be on the main stage. But will they interact with people? No. It's this whole thing where there are people there and these big names, and I think a lot of people are under the false impression they're going to get like access to them. And by access, I mean like you may see them on a stage, but you're not going to talk to them. You're not going to touch them. You're not going to, hang out with them. And the signers are going to be typical of any show. You go, you get your stuff signed, and you walk away. My question is, and I think I'm going to observe this when I'm there, is if I want to get something signed by Lundqvist, I think he's signing, or Richter. There's a bunch of hockey signers, but a lot of them are New York centric. Can I get like an Upper Deck card signed? Is someone going to say no? Like, I'm really curious to see. It's Fanatics Fest. It's all about Tops and Fanatics and all their products. And I think it's very difficult to police the outside stuff, but I just don't see how with dealers and with tables and with trade and with signing that you can say in a sign, no, you cannot bring any Panini or Upper Deck products in here. Like we won't sign them.
Unless you walk in with a top sticker, you're not going to get anything with Lundqvist that's not Upper Deck.
Well, exactly. And so, but maybe it's a photo. Like you get photos signed. You can get 8x10s, but you're not going to get a card signed because he's going to say, "Why I can't sign Upper Deck? I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Which is possible. It's very possible.
Here's the deal.
It's weird.
If someone is paying money and they want to get their Lundqvist rookie card signed, look, Fanatics and whomever else gets a cut of Lundqvist's autograph
Already.
appearance, they're getting paid no matter what.
right.
Whether he signs a goalie stick, an 8x10 photo,
Or your arm.
or a hockey card. It
doesn't matter. Yeah.
I mean, here's an interesting thing. Who was it? It was when Jack Eichel wasn't signing
Leaf.
He wasn't signing Leaf
No.
cards? No, he wasn't
He wasn't
signing Upper
signing
Deck
anything
cards.
but Leaf. Leaf had the exclusive with him his rookie year.
But what they ended up doing is they ended up doing a thing where you can mail the card to Leaf, and Leaf would get it signed because they knew that people wanted to get their Young Guns card signed. So they said, all right, mail us your card. We'll get it signed by Jack Eichel. So that was kind of like a workaround because Leaf got paid, Eichel got paid, and it didn't matter that he was signing Upper Deck cards because everybody involved got paid, right? So it doesn't matter, right? I can understand if Fanatics maybe had a set of hockey cards and they said they'll only sign these cards, but again, that kind of goes against the spirit of the thing. Yeah, I get it. It's also they want to be a monopoly and they want to, have all the things.
And if we were talking about any organization other than Fanatics, I would agree with you 100%. But we're not. Fanatics has already shown their desire to be the group, and everyone else gets cut out. And unless you do things their way, the way they say, with their stuff, again, I agree. I don't think they can police it if that's what's going to happen. But at the same time, I think they will strongly encourage other behaviors to take place. I will say this, though. They better start selling more tickets. They keep adding all these celebrities and stuff because none of these people are doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're getting paid. You know they are. And who's footing the bill?
But
It's got to
well,
be
Fanatics.
Fanatics.
Well, yeah, they are, but Fanatics has but it seemingly this endless sort of supply of money to make this happen, and if they lose money on it, they don't care. I think because they have to make a big blowout, and they are. I mean, it's all over. Like even now, I'm at the point where like if I go to YouTube and watch a video, the ad before the video is Fanatics Fest. Like at least where I am in New York, in the New York market. So like there's ads everywhere for it on the radio and on my social media feed, and it's everywhere.
But if the massive
And
blowout doesn't contribute to massive ticket sales, that's all anybody's going to be talking about after the fact.
well, yeah, and we may never know how many tickets they sold, but we'll know the foot traffic at the place.
Exactly.
Like we'll see.
That's what
Like
I'm
if the
anxious to hear
yeah,
from you. How many
yeah,
freaking
like
people are there?
right. Like is it dead on a Sunday? Is it dead on a Friday?
Right.
It's middle of August in New York City. Like people are away, they're on vacation, and the number of ads that I'm seeing makes me think that they're making a constant push to build awareness because people are like, "Oh, this is big show coming," and people are like, "What are you talking about?" Like, because they're not people, they're not in the hobby, they don't know what it is, and there's people in the hobby who are kind of like, I just went to the national. I'm not flying to New York for this. Well, I don't even know what this is, you know. So it would be really interesting to see, and it's very New York centric because I think they think, oh, if we get Jeter and Lundqvist and all these people that are New York sporting legends, that New Yorkers will come, or people in the New York area, Connecticut, New Jersey. So it's almost catering to that region more than anything else. You know, Tom Brady may be the only exception of this star-studded group, but otherwise, it's a lot of New Yorkers, and then there's a lot of other athletes too, but it's very New York heavy, and I don't know. I'm really curious to see what ends up happening. In the next episode, we'll talk about what happened. I'm sure everyone's curious. I'm sure Tim will be on social media all weekend, seeing what people are saying and doing, because that's another way of really
Dude,
following.
I have a life. I don't go on social media. What are you talking about? I got stuff.
We're relying on you because the chatter outside matters almost more than what's happening in the building in some ways, because that's the perception that's out there. And I'm sure Fanatics will do everything they can to try to build enthusiasm and to show enthusiasm. But I don't know. You can't fake this. Like it's either exciting and fun and going to be a great memorabilia sports show, or it's not. It's just there's no two ways about it.
I wish you could live report it like Les Nessman with the turkey drop from WKRP. Just have your thing. Like,
oh my god!
As we
That would be
speak, everything that's going on.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't even know. Like, I suspect a lot of like local New York media will go to this and cover it like, hey, there's people who are buying baseball cards again. Like, that's what I'm expecting the news coverage to be like. And Fanatics wants that. They want to be, they don't really care about hobby media because those people are already believers. They want to convert the people who don't know anything about this, to the people who watch the local news who are like, I bought baseball cards 40 years ago. Like people are doing this again?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That kind of thing. That's what they want to try to appeal to. Or Tom Brady's going to be at the Javits Center. Like I should go. I'll get to hear from Tom Brady. Whatever the appeal is. Or like Mike Tyson is going to have his way in there. Like maybe I can go to that. Like stuff like that. It's almost like they want to copy Comic-Con, but Comic-Con has a long history. It took many years to get to where they are. And I think entertainment is very different from sports in that sense. I mean, sports can be entertainment, but sports itself is not conducive to panels and to dressing up and to movie premieres. Like the hype is not around sports outside of the arena or outside the sporting venue. That's where the fun is, the actual games. Everything else around it is manufactured. And I think it's more going to be like a fan fest, like an all-star game fan fest, or that MLB has every year, or something like that, or like a Hall of Fame kind of weekend. It's going to have those elements. It's just going to be, it sounds like it's going to be overload because the number of people at the show in terms of names are like off the charts. So, and you're right, they have to pay these people. So it's going to be very expensive.
You should just go around with a microphone and interviewing everybody and just say, I have one question for you. Do you know what hockey is?
I think it'd be like, I'm here for Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm here for Eli Manning.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're paying their guests in Top Series 2 boxes. No, my family, we used to watch the WKRP in Cincinnati Thanksgiving episode with the turkey drop.
Yep.
After we finished dinner, then we'd watch that episode. We recorded it off the air and we watched it every Thanksgiving. That was like part of our Thanksgiving routine.
Hands down, one of the greatest episodes of any television show ever.
What's really funny about that is, as a kid, it was just ridiculous. And that's why I laughed as hard as I laughed as a kid. But one day I'm in a history of journalism class or something, and somebody showed me their, I don't know, I was looking at a book, maybe somebody else's book or whatever, the textbook, and they had the transcript from the narration from the Hindenburg explosion. And I didn't realize that Les Nessman was basically doing the Hindenburg tragedy when he's like, oh my God, the humanity, the horror, the horror. And I'm reading this and I'm busting out laughing as I'm reading the transcript of the Hindenburg broadcast, because I'm seeing the turkeys. You never see the turkeys in WKRP. You never see them hit the pavement like bags of wet cement, to quote Les Nessman. But I'm reading this Hindenburg tragedy, and I'm like, oh my God, that's what Les Nessman was basically saying. And so it was even more genius then. And then I appreciated it on a whole different level. It was funny and absurd, but it was also based on something real, his words were based on something real. So that made it even funnier.
Not only that, the whole scene was based off of something real, because apparently that happened.
Oh no.
To which the guy that was in charge of the other, it happened in Atlanta or something like that, years before that, I guess. And the guy that was in charge with it actually said, quoted, it was in the newspaper, and that's where they pulled this from, I guess. But he actually said, I didn't know turkeys couldn't fly. And that's the best line. You're chucking these things out and they're just crashing to the ground. It's just funny. It's funny. You can't duplicate that stuff.
Well, we're gonna find out if this turkey can fly on Friday. If Fanatics Fest can pull this off, so
that should be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk some hockey cards, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, so let me just give the basics on 23-24 Upper Deck Extended Series Hockey. So a hobby box has 12 packs. Each pack has 12 cards. Right now, hobby boxes are costing about $150. There's also blaster boxes, which are selling $30 for 4 packs. The basics, it's just what you'd expect. It's a 250 card set. So you got 200 base cards. You have 50 short prints. On the base set, cards 501 through 700. So what's interesting is the way they break it up, because they dedicate a portion of the set to the All-Star game, which is something I really like. We could talk more about that in a minute. But so basically cards 501 to 654 are your standard player cards, where they got guys like Patrick Kane, now as a Red Wing, Jonathan Quick, now as a New York Rangers player. And then you have other guys who've changed teams, or guys who just didn't make the cut in Series 1, Series 2. Cards 655 through 698 are from last year's All-Star game. 699 and 700 are the base set checklist. And then 701 through 750 are the short prints. 701 to 729 are the Young Guns. 730 is the Young Guns checklist. So they're done trying to stretch out another 50 Young Guns. I think they tried that 1 year or 2 seasons back. I think the first season they did extended series, they had 30 Young Guns, counting the checklist. The second season, I want to say they had 50, but they were really scraping. And then last year, they started doing the first round draft pick cards. So 701 through 729 are Young Guns. 730 is the Young Guns checklist. And 731 through 750 are the first round draft pick cards, which are also short prints, but interestingly enough, they're not on any checklist. They're not on the Young Gun checklist because that only goes up to 730. So I don't know. We had this debate last year. Like, I'm going to ask you right now, like the first round draft pick card of Connor Bedard. Is this a rookie card? It's in the set. It's numbered. It's number 740. So it's in the set. It's part of the numbering. So is this a rookie card?
It's a rookie year card.
But why isn't it a rookie card?
Does it say rookie card?
Do Young Guns say rookie cards? No, they say Young Guns.
Well, Protect doesn't have any rookie logo on anything, right? I mean, not really.
Correct.
That's not necessarily true.
They do it on like Allure and like on some other sets.
Yeah, they've done it on Metal.
Metal, but not in the
RC
flagship.
logo, yeah.
Not in the flagship, though.
Yeah, like a
There's
Peachy
no
says
rookie.
Marquee Rookie, and a Peachy Platinum says Marquee Rookie.
Okay.
And
Yeah, Marquee,
Right.
but it's like Young Guns. It's a title, not so much an RC logo in the corner, like top stuff.
but for
Right.
flagship, that
Right.
is the Young Gun title. You would not find someone that's not a rookie in a Young Gun set unless they're doing some historical throwback.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
I just asked a really massive question here. Like, it's not an easy answer here, but I would say it's a rookie year card. It's a rookie card. I mean, Bedard has like what, 1,000 rookie cards. I mean, in terms of
Feels like
it feels like it, but he has with parallels maybe 100, maybe more. So in that sense, sure, it's whatever you want to collect and whatever you like, but everyone's chasing the Young Guns card. So that's the rookie everybody wants, and then there's like another 24 other variations and types of other things that people might be happy with. There might be even a lower pop count on those, but hockey collectors don't seem to care about that. We talked about that before, so that's whatever.
So anyway, set's been out for a bit now. So just to give a quick rundown, there's a lot of insert sets. Some of these have printing plates and other parallel versions, but so you have, as far as inserts, you got 1997-98 HoloView retros, so HoloView retros, and then also gold and red versions. 98-99 UD3 with also blue, gold, and red versions. 2001-2002 retro Young Guns. 2003-2004 Beehive with gold, red, and printing plates. 2007-08 Black Diamond Retros, also with emerald and ruby versions. 2008-9 Upper Deck Retro Exclusives. So 2008-2009 Upper Deck Retro, and there's also exclusive high gloss and printing plates. Acetate Young Guns, Day with the Cup, dedicated to the Vegas Golden Knights. Dazzler's Blue, Green, Orange, and Pink continue in extended series. There's Hockey Heroes that look like the old 91-92 Hull Heroes cards. Holographics Future Frame. Holographics Rookies with also gold and printing plate versions. Tim's favorite, Population Counts in 1, 10, 25, 50, 100, 500, and 1,000 increments, or whatever you want to call it. Seeing Red, there's also a gold foil version of that. Silver Skates, there's also a red version and a gold version. And why make a set called Silver Skates and then do a gold version? That is confusing and dumb. Snow Spray Autographs, which were an unannounced insert. Special Forces, not to be confused with the NHL Specialists. And then UD Canvas, and then UD Canvas Black and White. And then real quick, the parallel sets. Well, we've been getting since Series 1 this year. We got our Deluxe, our Outburst Gold, which is 1 of 1. Outburst Reds, which are numbered out of 25. Outburst Silvers, which are 1 in every 30 packs. And then Clear Cuts, which are 1 in every 48 packs. UD Exclusives, which are numbered out of 100. And UD High Gloss, which is numbered out of 10. So that is the rundown on the parallel sets. I did get my hands on a box. I opened the box. I finally pulled a Bedard card. Well, no, that's not true. I also pulled that Bedard card from that box of Black Diamond, but that was like a mega hit. This is just like, as far as like just a standard card in the set, like a Young Gun or a Young Gun type card. Finally got one. So, and I bought all those boxes of OPG and did not get one marquee rookie. So, what do you guys think? Have you had a chance to either buy any packs or boxes, or at the very least, look at any of the images online?
I have bought some singles. I didn't buy packs or the boxes. I think the boxes are going for about $100 at the National, I think. I think extended is kind of like this cursed product in the sense that it comes out super late. It's like in the middle of summer, season's almost basically over, and it doesn't have the big names to support people who want to buy it. And if you're trying to finish the set, I understand that, but people don't really do that anymore. I thought it would be more valuable because there are some Bedard cards in there, including the canvas. But clearly, people are not chasing that as much as they're chasing the Young Guns, even though the canvas may be rarer, but they don't seem to care. And then I thought some rookies in here, like Logan Cooley, would have more appeal, and I think they don't, at least not now. And so I think it's great, but frankly, like me personally, I'm still working on Series 1. I never bought a box of Series 2, and that's still going for like 325, 330. At the National, it was going for that much. So that hasn't moved. I mean, the Bedard card has gone down as a single. You can basically get the Bedard card now cheaper than the box in some cases, but the box hasn't shifted. And so if you're a set collector, and unless someone's just gifting you like, hey, I have a bunch of commons I don't want, here you go, you're not breaking that box. And so I haven't gotten this, to extended because I feel like when March came, my whole flagship journey got stunted because it's like, well, I'm not paying 325 for a box of anything. So I haven't really enjoyed extended as much. And I did buy, it's funny, I bought one of the Special Forces, the Bedard one. I bought that single at the National. It's a cool insert. I think Special Forces is a cool insert. I like that. But it's a ton of inserts. I mean, like a ton. So it's basically everything for everyone in terms of like whatever you like, you can chase that set or that subset if you want. Because the base cards here don't seem to matter much to anybody. I will say that the population count cards, I'm not a big fan of those. Like these
What?
graded.
Oh,
You
come
like
on.
you like. See, I don't
You
like
don't like
those.
fake graded cards? Come on.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is it like it's like a fake graded card, and then if you get that graded, it's like a graded grade. I don't know,
A
whatever.
graded fake graded
Just
card?
it's too meta for me. I don't get it. So that design doesn't do anything for me.
It's too
But
meta.
but Dazzlers is cool, and the canvas photography looks really really cool, which I like because I think flagship needs to shake things up a little bit. If you look at the last like 5 years, they look identical basically. So I like
What
that.
do you mean? What
I
looks
mean, in terms
identical?
of the design of flagship base cards, like they look very similar to each other.
Yeah, when 3 out of the 4 sides are full bleed, which looks nice, don't get me wrong. But like you lose the border design. Oh, this year has green borders, this year has blue borders, this year has multicolored borders, this year has silver borders, this year has a top and bottom border but no left or right border. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean it's basically the name, the team logo. The team logo is always silver. It's that foil stamped silver. The player's name is, or the team name, or there's some striping in silver. Yeah. The inserts, and I know a lot of them are riffing off of 90s stuff, but it's almost a shame that these are relegated to insert sets or like special forces or something, right? Like where you have a lot of cool designs, but they're used on a 60 card insert set or 100 card insert set and not for a 700 card set. I mean, how cool would Upper Deck Series 1, 2, and Extended be if they pulled one of those designs that was used for whatever, and did something with it and made it the actual set? It'd be different.
It brings some energy to the base, but I know that probably they realize no one cares. But the Young Guns cards matter. Like that design matters, right? Because everyone wants those cards. So I agree. Like, save some of the energy on the base for in the inserts and bring it to the base set. And if you do one less insert, no one will notice because there's like 30 different inserts in the extended alone, it seems. So I agree.
So I'm going to be different. You ready for this? I'm going to be different.
Do it.
It's called hobby positivity, gentlemen. You need to get some. So look, I've said about Extended every year we talk about it. Extended to me is always an underrated set for any hockey collector because of how many different inserts are jammed into this thing. You might get 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 10, maybe 20 or 30 inserts in the regular set, but no, not in Extended. Extended, you're going to get 746 different inserts, maybe plus or minus 3. But they're all, like you said, Sal, they're all retro ones. And I like the designs of these. And each year they seem to pick the designs that kind of go with some type of anniversary set, whether it's a 20-year-old set or a 10-year-old set or something of that nature that kind of parallels what they're trying to get over. But the insert sets here, when you're throwing in Hollow Views and UD3 and the retro designed Young Guns, or this year's especially has Beehive in it. I love the Beehive design. I think it's great. But the key thing is, and we've talked about this, Extended gets ignored because it's usually all the leftover stuff. So, we talk first couple of years, they were jamming 50 more Young Guns in there. Well, nobody can even name 5 of them, let alone 50 of them. So I think by holding back, like you mentioned, Clemente, Logan Cooley's in here.
And Fantilli.
Yeah, so you've got Logan Cooley's Young Gun in here. You've got Adam Fantilli's Young Gun in here. 2 guys that were highly touted going into the year. Cooley finished in the top in rookies in scoring, and he was also named to the all rookie team along with Bedard. But Fantilli's on there, great up and coming player. You got what's the guy from the Capitals, the Russian guy.
Oh, I got his card actually.
Miroshnichenko, I think is how you say his name. Miroshnichenko.
Yeah, he's in
Ivan Miroshnichenko.
He's a beast. That dude's a beast, and he has way too silky mitts for a guy that's like 6'2", 6'3", 400 pounds or 200 pounds. Sorry,
6'1", 185, but okay.
I'm sure he's pushing more than that. You can see that guy on skates. He's ridiculous.
But I'll do you one better. Like Matt Rempe didn't get a Young Guns card and Extended, and are they waiting for Series 1 next year?
Probably.
Or and maybe, but that's the thing. When you have the chance to go into next year for a big name, you're gonna do it. And if you put Logan Cooley and Fantilli, while highly touted, their stock has kind of diminished over the course of the year, and so.
Well, Cooley has a disadvantage because he was stuck on Arizona and now he's stuck on Utah.
Right.
So there's a disadvantage right there. Fantilli plays for Columbus, not a huge market. You guys saw how many hockey fans there are in Ohio at the National. So,
Sal knows them all by name, so there aren't that many.
Yeah, I mean, you can count them on one hand.
Well, and I've sold every Adam Fantilli card I had at the National.
Right.
But you also have in here, you got Simon Nemec in here from the Devils. And I hate to say it, I think he's still a great player. You got Matt Savoy in here, who was on the Sabres, but if those of you paying attention over the summer, he got traded to Edmonton for Ryan freaking McLeod, which is a crazy trade, but whatever. I guess Buffalo, I don't know, maybe they didn't see something. But, so the extended checklist of Young Guns is many, many times lacking, and there might be 1, possibly 2 guys in it each year. I think this one has a bigger upside than we've seen in previous years. And again, they held back the canvas Bedard to get people excited about that. They have the first round rookies that they've been doing the last few years, so that adds another Bedard out there and another chase to some of the top rookies that came out that year. So they had to add a little bit more excitement, I think, to try to get people to want to buy this product. Because, I mean, let's face it, we've all seen the first couple years of Extended. I mean, you could buy boxes for under $50 in most cases now, just because of the lack of, I guess, star power when it comes to the Young Guns. Seriously though, go down that list. Look at some of the names that are on the Young Gun checklist. I mean, they're like perfect hockey names, like Angus Crookshank. Who wouldn't want an Angus Crookshank card? I mean, that name alone, that's like a perfect hockey name. Or what is his name? Callie Crank is his name, or Clank, or Clang, or something like that. I mean, it just his name sounds like a slap shot that hits the post. Like that's what his name sounds like. I would collect them just for that, just because of their names. To be honest.
I think Upper Deck is doing a good thing by continually tweaking what they do with extended series, because you're right, you can buy 2021 and 21-22 extended series fairly cheap because there weren't really great young guns in those sets. Now, of course, player, a year or two later, they could catch fire and everybody's looking for their card. Oh, is an
Yeah,
extended series. Oh,
but
extended
that's what
series.
I was thinking. I can't think of a situation where I said, "Oh, I got to go get a box of extended 3 years later because somebody got really good."
No, because usually like the obvious choices, and then the guys who show up and are just players. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I think the reason why Rempe didn't get included wasn't his NHL debut in the Winter Classic, or
It
was it like a
was.
couple days
No, it
before?
was.
It
Yeah, it
was.
was. Yeah,
Right. So it seems
that could
that
be too
like
late. That was the cutoff, maybe. I don't know, but
it's usually the All-Star game, but
mm,
they could have just said, you know what, he's popular enough that if we put him in Series One, that might drive some sales for Series One. Because you want to have some guys that people will be like, oh, cool, he's in Series One, right? Like who was in Series One? Was it Matt Boldy was in?
I think so.
People are like, oh, okay, cool, he's in this. That was kind of driving interest a little bit. So yeah, you know what? You put your big rookie in Series 2, you put the canvas of him in extended series, you make a bunch of inserts, you make sure that the hot rookies are in those insert sets. Day with the Cup, people love Day with the Cup and acetate young guns. So I mean, you're getting a lot of good potential inserts in extended series, and I think that's fine. I do think that is a bit of overkill. Like, really, do we really need 97, 98 Hollowview, 98, 99 UD3, 2001, 2002 retro? I mean, that's not even a 20-year anniversary. That's a 22-year anniversary, which
Right.
to me doesn't make sense. Or 08, 09 Upper Deck retro,
Right.
or 07, 08 Black Diamond. I
Seems
mean,
random.
well, 3, 4, I get that that's 20
Okay,
years
that
ago.
one is, but the other ones are
But
done.
the other ones are random, and it's just like they should just pick one and stick to it, right? Like, you know what? Do 20 years
Like Topps
ago
Heritage does.
and do that 100 card insert
Right.
set. And then the next year you could do the next thing. So why are they doing 0102 retro Young Guns and 0809 retro with Young Guns as well, right? Like it's like they should just pick one for the year, an anniversary, whether it's a 20, a 25, a 30, a 15, whatever, or even mix it up. 15th anniversary of Black Diamond, 20th anniversary of Flagship, 25th anniversary of something else, or whatever. And then like some of the other inserts, like Seeing Red, okay, I get it. It's like the red light from scoring a goal, right? The goal light, okay? And they're like shiny inserts. We like our shiny inserts, but I mean, more or less, this is just like another Dazzler or another similar type of insert. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really do anything that hasn't already been done. So that's the thing. Like, I feel like they're doing a good job, but maybe just scale it back a little bit. And I think that's why people aren't interested, because there's just so many different inserts. It's just like, all right, enough already.
When they're going to put 37 of them in a pack, I think there should be more. There needs to be more variety.
Yeah, almost like Panini Chronicles. Like you want to have just like, the base is almost like irrelevant. There's all these different cards.
I'll take more inserts over more parallels any day.
Yeah, I think Extended is trying to appeal to player collectors who want those different insert particular cards of a particular player. Because if you look at the inserts, a lot of them are the same names. It's like McDavid and Bedard, and it's like the names everybody really wants, not random names. And so there's a method to the madness. And look, if someone like Bedard and his inserts can move the needle on this product, then nothing I think ever will. Let's be honest, because even with the canvas card, I thought, oh no, this box will go for $200. Nope, it didn't
Right.
do that. And so I was quite surprised to see it at the National I saw 495, 100, 105. And I was like, okay, it's more than 60, which is usually what it was going for at the National if you look at years past. But it's only $40
Right.
more, and it's a shame because Bedard is the only player that can move the needle a little bit. It doesn't matter all the Logan Coolies in the world, Adam Fantillis aren't going to do that.
Tim, you said that you'd rather have inserts than parallels, but how do you feel about parallels of inserts?
Okay, two things. In the errors and omissions category, you were just talking about Matt Boldy being Series 1. That was last year. I think you meant Brock Faber.
Oh,
I think you meant Brock Faber.
sorry, Brock was in
Yeah,
Series
Brock
1?
Faber was in Series 1 this year. Same team, different
I
player.
can't remember if it was...
I confused them.
I couldn't remember if it was Brock or
Yeah.
Boldy. It was one of the
Boldy
big
was last
boys.
year,
Yeah,
but he was
sorry.
technically still a rookie this year because of how much he got to play.
He played under 45
Yeah.
games or something.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. But
Thank you.
so I feel, isn't that how you're supposed to start talking? You're supposed to say I feel, or okay. This isn't therapy. Sorry.
Oh, it is therapy. There's a joke that women seek therapy and men start podcasts.
All right.
Really?
It works.
Yeah, why don't men... Well, yeah.
Here's the thing.
Sorry.
I'll take a bunch of inserts over parallels any day because parallels are done into the ground, and I don't think anybody does them right. I think there should be a base card and 8 parallels, and that's it. No more, no less. Because if you go more, they don't fit in pages and look correctly. And if you go less, then it's just stupid and they still don't fit in pages. So that's just my opinion as a collector. But anyway, skip the parallels, do more inserts, and the insert parallels, what Upper Deck's been doing the last few years, they've been putting out like 1, maybe 2 parallel to go with a lot of them, unless you count EPAC. So if you roll in the EPAC ones, then there's more. But from out of packs, it's usually like just 1. There'll be a regular version and like a gold version or something of that nature. I don't like the 2 different parallels. If we're going to do any parallels on inserts at all, I think those should all be put in a separate product. So my opinion, leave the parallel inserts for EPAC. Don't pack them out in packs. Unless, of course, you're doing some kind of like autograph as a parallel. Or this version has a jersey piece in it. Okay, that I get. But if you're just doing, hey, we're putting out this Hollow View, and you can also get a Hollow View Gold, numbered out of 25 or numbered out of 50. Put those in EPAC. That's just my opinion. Because then if somebody wants one, they can go find it for 25 cents eventually when it hits ComC. Or go and buy EPACs and try to get it.
But they want to create chase. They want you to buy the box, right? I mean, isn't that what they want?
I mean, you could buy a box online too. You can buy a box on EPAC. It's no different. Plus, you're giving Upper Deck your money rather than giving some third-party retailer.
That's true.
Upper Deck already got paid on that one.
But Upper Deck knows how many people are in EPAC, and they know what it's better for, and they know what's going to ultimately be better. And they think, well, if we can get new people in the tent to buy a box because they are chasing Bedard, that's better than the faithful who are on EPAC, who that number, I don't know what that number is. They're not going to make that public.
There's a lot more than most people think. And
you make a good point, though.
What you said, though, a minute ago about why the prices are still super high. Well, it's because the gold outburst hasn't been pulled yet. The checklist was pulled, guess where? On EPAC. But the regular outburst Bedard has not been pulled yet. So until it does, might as well keep the price that high.
I always think someone pulled it and just didn't say anything. But we live in a world where that's not likely to happen.
It could have happened.
But it could happen. Could be. So you're right. So once that's pulled, that box will deflate like a balloon.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt in my mind.
It could also never happen. Like it could still be in a box. If they printed so much of it, it could still be sitting in a box somewhere. And someone will pull it 5 years from now.
Yeah, if Upper Deck was smart, they'd find out about it first, take this person and put them in witness protection until enough of the product is done. And then they can wheel them out and say, hey, look who found it. This guy.
Right. But not then. It was like found 2 years earlier or a year earlier, 6 months earlier, whatever. Yeah, no, look, who knows? But I guess you're right. That 325 will come down on Series 2. But, I it's almost like I wish Extended was better somehow, and I can't think of how to do that. But also, maybe it doesn't need to exist. I don't know. Or it needs to come out sooner. I don't know what the play is.
I've wanted this set to exist for so long, and even God, 7 years ago or so, I remember reaching out to when Chris Carlin was still working for Upper Deck. Now he's with Collectors, but he was always good at answering my questions. And I sent him a list of questions. I said, "Hey, these are just things that I want to know about. Can you answer these for me?" And one of the things I asked about is an Upper Deck Series 3, and he said retailers don't like this idea, and so we're not doing it. And this was back in, like, I want to say 2017. I just asked a bunch of different questions, like how come you don't do the paintings for the checklists anymore? Like, you used to have the team checklists, and they had those paintings that always reminded me of Donruss Diamond Kings. How come you don't do fun photos like Doug Waite standing on the beach or stuff like that, right? Like, and so one of the things I asked about was the Series 3, and they said retailers don't want it, but somehow they figured out a way to make retailers want to buy it. I mean, of course, that was in 2021 when sports card collecting was in the current state at its all-time high, like the 2020-21 season, where there's like, yeah, we're going to make more product, right? We'll make another Alexei Lafreniere card and put that in there as well, right? And I'm glad that there's a Series 3. I know, like, back in the 80s and 90s, there were not 800 hockey players. Now there almost are. I used to look at those baseball card sets that Topps would put out,
Yeah.
792 cards. And I go, wow. And you'd look, and like the Chicago Cubs had 32 cards. And I go, wow. And then you'd look at the Blackhawks, and they had 8 cards. And I'd be like, well, I can name 12 guys that should have cards that don't have cards. But when you're only making 198 or 396 cards, so I love the fact that there's a 750 card set. And I don't even mind the All-Star cards. Some people might think they're filler. I like the All-Star game. I don't mind having cards of players in their All-Star uniforms. I always think it's a fun subset. And, honestly, they probably just ran out of guys to put in. I mean, I could look at the checklist, and we could all look at who's in Series 1, Series 2, and Extended Series on our favorite teams and be like, oh, this guy should have gotten a card. Oh, that guy should have gotten a card. Why did they make an all-star card? Because sometimes it's a little bit easier, just like, hey, let's make another card of McDavid, and let's make another card of Crosby, and let's put them in Extended Series in all-star uniforms. And then again, that drives interest, because for the player collectors, and like even like the team collectors, okay, Crosby's a Penguin, but he's in an all-star uniform, but he's still a Penguin. And guess what? There's an acetate version, and there's a high gloss version, and there's a outburst version, right? So I like Extended Series. It's not perfect, but I like it, and I want it to keep happening.
You know what's interesting? You mentioned that was that one year that they created another Lafreniere Young Guns card. And I'm quite surprised that Bedard, they put him on canvas, but they didn't create another Young Guns, like a parallel. I'm quite surprised that didn't happen, because maybe they realized, look, we really did too much of Bedard this year, or who knows why, or they realized that the feedback on Lafreniere was bad, because they told everyone, oh no, we're only making one Young Guns card, and then they make 2. And so I wonder, why not make another Bedard card?
Well, they already had a game action photo of him for his Series 2 Young Gun.
Right.
So it was Lafreniere.
Yeah, I guess that was their excuse to say he's just posing, as opposed to that was a COVID thing. But I just,
he's in the retro set. I don't know if you count that.
In the retro Young Guns, he's in there. Okay.
Yeah, he's in there, but those, you remember, like the last couple of years, those have been like unannounced, quote unquote. So we don't know how many of those are out there. But he's in there.
Right.
I think the top 8.
So that's the question. Does that count Sal as a rookie card?
You know what? I put them all in rookie card top loaders. Let people figure out what they want, right? Like what they want to collect.
Excuse me, sir. Can I buy this card? But I don't want it in the top loader, because that's false advertising.
Yeah, I give you a different top loader. Here's one with tape on it instead of rookie
some
card.
People really hate the rookie card top loader, just so you know.
You think so?
Yeah, I like him, but
yeah. No, the rookie card top loaders, those get people's attention. They stop and they look.
Yeah, I like.
It's basically saying in gold letters, "This is a rookie card."
I don't mind it, and it helps people figure out what's a rookie year thing and what's not, and that may be helpful.
It's especially helpful with like pre-Young Gun era cards,
But let me ask you this, Sal. When you were at the National and people asked you, do you have a Bedard Young Guns? I'm sure someone asked you. It wasn't probably as common as it was earlier in the year. But what are the Bedard cards that were they interested in? I'm curious, because I'm just trying to think, if you're not going for the young guns, what's like the second tier then?
Nobody asked for a marquee rookie.
Okay. I like that one, but no one asked for that. Okay.
No one asked for that one. People asked for the young gun.
Okay.
And then they just kind of looked and saw what I had. Like, no, maybe they asked for the Easter egg card.
Oh, that's
Nobody
right.
asked about MVP.
Okay.
Nobody asked about
Nobody asked about any extended inserts, nothing like that.
I think somebody did. Yeah, I think a few people might have asked for the canvas card, and I just
Okay.
said, I haven't opened extended series yet. So yeah, so some people did ask for the canvas. They did, and some people asked for the young gun. A lot of people were just willing to look and see what I had, and then if they wanted something, they bought it. You know what I mean? Like even like his Team Canada stuff was still selling,
Really?
right?
Wow.
Like yeah, well, because a popular player cards are going to sell of a popular player. And it just depends what people's motive is, right? Like if they are a collector, they're going to want to collect the cards that they like and that they can afford and that, what they like and they can afford. That's really what it is. If they're an investor, they're really just cherry picking a few things, any autographs, any RPAs, people ask for stuff like that, but I don't really keep track of that in my mind because I don't have it. You know what I mean? Now I remember I want to say back in the March show, I think you asked me or you suggested that I should keep track of how many times people asked for Connor Bedard Young Gun, and I think I was asked like 10 times a
It was
day.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that card had just come out like 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, so people are still asking for that, but he's collected enough that people might see a top sticker and be like, all right, I'll buy that for $10. Or a Team Canada card and be like, I don't have that card. That's a cool card. Or a junior card and be like, okay, I don't have that card and that's interesting. And even though they know it doesn't have the value of the young gun. Again, if you're a collector and it's a player that you like and it's a card you can afford, you go for it. So he is a collectible player like Crosby is a collectible player. I'm not saying they're at the same level yet. I'm just saying he is a collectible player. So his B and C list stuff also sells.
That's good to know. I'm just always curious because in a universe of so many rookie cards, it's kind of hard to know what are people ultimately chasing. Because if Upper Deck is producing all this stuff and people are still just chasing the one or two things, then it's kind of sort of pointless. But and it also puts extended in that category of we don't need to worry about this set unless you're building the whole base set, or who cares about this. But you said you always wanted this set, but you have to admit there needs to be some improvements. Otherwise, it just seems to me like another product, almost separate from one and two. It's almost this other thing that is full of inserts and full of cool stuff. But
Yeah, but it extends my favorite, hence the name. It extends my favorite set of cards, and it makes it a bigger set than O-Pee-Chee. And I like that. I like that it's the flagship set. It's the set that everybody likes the most, I would argue. And yet it was not the biggest set. And I think that it should be. One other thing I'll say is that something I noticed, at least thumbing through my extended series base cards, there's just a lot of good photography in this year's set. I'm sure there was in series 1 and series 2 as well, but just, it being refreshed in my mind looking at extended series, there's like some really interesting photography that is the kind of stuff that you would have seen in the 90s. Like here's Laurent Bressant of the Winnipeg Jets, and the photo was taken through the netting of the goalie net. And it's just a cool photo. And then here's a card of Travis Hamonic flashing a toothless smile. A lot of times now, hockey cards, you see like these just kind of like from the shins and up, kind of like routine action shots. So this is like a throwback to like an 80s, 90s Tops card, right? Where they couldn't get the great action photography, but maybe they could get an interesting headshot. Or here's one of William Borgen at the, I guess this is a Winter Classic, and you got like flames shooting out of the ground, right? As the Seattle Kraken are taking to the ice, right? So that's like a cool one. I think there was another one. Oh, this one was just interesting. Ivan Barbashev, but it's like looking up at him a bit. It's like from a low angle. And I get that because the photographers a lot of times are crouched down. But it's just cool to have this kind of variety in addition to like the standard action photos and then some really good action photos as well. So those first couple of years during the COVID era, you had like a lot of like boring shots because they were very limited from their camera angles.
You brought up that Brossois card and that Hammonick. Have you guys ever seen the E60 that they did on Travis Hammonick?
No.
Yeah, I think it was called In the Name of the Father. It was like his story. It's pretty good. You guys check it out. Here's my only gripe, since I have to have my one negative. I was trying to be positive, but you guys drug it out of me, so here goes. They revived Hockey Heroes this year.
Yep.
It's 40 cards.
Ugh.
That's absolutely silly. It's stupid. Hockey Heroes is not supposed to be that many cards. Hockey Heroes is 8 or 9 cards plus a art card for the years that they made an art card. Or it's 8 cards plus a header. Now it's 40 cards. And I noticed there's no header or art card. It's just 40 cards. But I guess they're they're like see-through or acetate or something.
Yep.
So I guess that's why they did that, maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I collect the Hockey Hero sets, so they look cool in a binder like year after year as you flip through them. But they fit in a binder pretty much, other than the header or art card, if there is one. But, okay, I get it. We had to do it, so that's what they're doing. And that's fine. I'm just not a fan of that one.
No, it's okay. I've had that complaint, though, that, like, the insert sets are cool, but they're so big that it becomes a minor investment just to complete them. Even if it's, like, 50 cents a card, you're looking at, like, $50 for, like, a 100-card set.
You held up that Seeing Red one earlier. There's 100 cards in that set.
I know,
100.
right? But I can't name 100 great goal scorers in the NHL who would be deserving. Like, if you just said the top 10 scorers, okay, top 20, 30, I can name them. Said, Sal, name the top 100 scorers in the league so that we could do a Seeing Red set. I'm like, I can't name 51 through, I can't name 31 through 100.
Good thing they had the entire NHL history to choose from, because there's a bunch of, like, Hall of Famers mixed in there too.
Okay, that's kind of cool, but I mean, I get it, but yeah, that's like we said before. You said okay, there should be more insert sets. Clemente, you say there should be less insert sets. I think that the insert set should be smaller, and maybe 9, so that they all fit in a 9-pocket page, like 9 cards each insert set. That always drove me crazy. Like, this insert set has 10 cards. Great.
Multiples of 9. I don't understand why nobody understands that. I don't understand why no one understands. Multiples of 9.
Yeah.
Do 9. Do 18.
What?
36. I don't care. Do 90. That's fine too.
Yeah. All right, guys, any last words? Because I want to wrap this one up.
Well, we talk about extended, but we're only like, weeks away from MVP. So
that's okay.
A whole new season.
If you believe the release calendar schedule, then yes.
Sure.
Which, at this point in my life, I don't believe it anymore.
And COVID is over, so that excuse is done.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not done for them.
Well, all right, then. I guess we'll wrap this one up. So thank you for listening to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. As always, if you've enjoyed this show, please be sure to like and subscribe. Please be sure to tell your hockey collecting friends who like podcasts, or maybe they don't listen to podcasts and you want us to be the first podcast that they listen to. That would be great. If you want to support this podcast, you could do so by buying a t-shirt at shop.puckjunk.com. And until next time, collect what you like.
For more hockey goodness, follow us on Twitter @PuckJunk.